Warning, this episode contains brain food that will lead to improved emotional and social intelligence. Hello and welcome to our new short format servings of consciously prepared brain food designed to improve your mental fitness. This is Lisa Cypers Kamen, your host. For more than 12 years, we've been proudly and consistently crafting harvesting happiness and sharing it with you. Each week, we spotlight diverse thinkers and doers who are contemporary trendsetters and change agents devoting their lives to creating a better world in which to live. We invite you to listen up and change the way you think about human happiness. Our award-winning content is fresh, optimistic, and purpose-driven media that promotes well-being from the inside out. Alrighty then, let's dive in. This episode offers psychosocial education designed to inspire and motivate our listeners. The information provided does not constitute a therapeutic relationship nor a substitute for professional mental health care. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis, call 911, go to your nearest emergency room, or for listeners in the United States, text 988 for the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. This episode originally aired in February of 2022. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Thanks for joining me on today's show, where you will learn about body wisdom, functional and integrative medicine for women's wellness. My guest today is Dr. Aviva Romm, MD. She is the mother of 4 grown children, a Yale-trained physician specializing in integrative medicine for women and children, a midwife, an herbalist, and an award-winning author. Aviva has spent nearly 30 years as a healthcare practitioner and advocate for health and environmental concerns of women and kids. She is on fire, and I can attest to this, about creating a better world for all. And her newest book is entitled Hormone Intelligence, the complete guide to calming hormone chaos and restoring your body's natural blueprint for well-being. Aviva, thanks so much for joining me on the show. And I'm grinning from ear to ear. And I'm so excited to talk with you.
Lisa, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk with you too.
Yeah, this is a subject that, as a woman and a woman who has been through perimenopause, been through menopause, and is managing hormones, power surges, and electricity galore, I have an interest in this subject, a deep one. And I have a daughter, so I'm also invested in her welfare and wellness.
I love it. Yeah, I'm in the same hormonal
category
as you. Yes, I have just officially been in menopause since last November. So 6 months in, and it's a whole new part of life. It's like when we go through puberty or when we become moms, I don't think people prepare us the same way as for what menopause means. But yeah. I'm here with you in it, sister.
We're here together with humor and lust and passion and power and hormones and hot flashes and the whole deal. But before we jump into that, I want to give our listeners a little bit more about your background, because you have a most interesting career path, starting as a university student at age 15.
Yep. I was always a bit of a science geek and a word geek. So I was that spelling bee science fair kid and really wanted to be a physician, and also was living in a housing project in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment that I was sharing with my mom and my brother. I was in a bunk bed with my brother. Obviously, we each had our own bunk, but until I was 14. And I was commuting almost 2 hours a day to go to school. I gained like 40 pounds that year with stress. I had great grades. I was on a national champion debate team, and I knew something had to give. And so I actually was like, well, maybe I could just skip high school and go to college. And so I wrote a letter to Johns Hopkins University and asked them if they would just take me right into college, and so I could go right to medical school.
Oh my God.
And this was back in 1980. And somebody actually, like, no email or anything like that. Somebody actually, I had to, lick the envelope and put a stamp on it, put it in the mailbox. And somebody actually read it and wrote me back and said, well, we can't take you because you're too young. But there is a school called Simon's Rock of Bard College that does take young, gifted students. And I applied and I got a scholarship and I went. And then within 3 months of being there, I got exposed to natural medicine, which was not called natural medicine. There was no name for it at the time. It was just weird at the time. Healthy eating, organics, growing food, midwifery, home birth, herbal medicine, massage, acupuncture, meditation. My family thought I had joined a cult. I had not. And I left school and apprenticed myself to a midwife and started studying everything I could about herbal medicine. And fast forward, I spent 20 plus years practicing as a home birth midwife, became, inarguably, it's easy to say because it's true. So it always sounds like bragging, but probably the leading or one of the three leading women herbalists for Western herbal medicine in the world. And realized I had to do something to bridge the gap because back in the day, natural medicine wasn't what it is. Home birth midwifery was very fringe, in fact, illegal where I practiced. And so when people did need to interface with the medical community, it was so polarized, right? You were either completely outside the box with people like me who had self-studied and had a little information to share, or you were completely in the medical model, which was so conservative at the time. Like the idea of herbs or diet in conventional medicine in 1981 was just,
didn't exist.
Yeah, and even well into the 90s, it didn't. And so I made the decision to go back because remember, I had gone to college at 15, left at 16. So I had to go back. I had to complete my undergraduate, do my post-bac prereqs, and then take my MCATs. And I had gone to college so young that I had never even taken an SAT. So I'm probably one of the few people in the country who's gone to medical school without an SAT and went to med school with, by then, 4 kids who were tweens and teens. And
Wow.
that's how it went. And so then I went to Yale for my med school. I did my internship in internal medicine there, and then I did my residency in family medicine with obstetrics and a specialty in integrative women and children's health at Tufts. And now have just been bridging that pre-med world that I had with the now MD world. And it's an amazing journey. It's a great ride. And I wrote a bunch of books in the meanwhile. I wrote some books before med school, some books after. I ran a national nonprofit for herbalists, lots and lots of interesting things along the way. And now I have 4 phenomenally wonderful and just beautiful grown children and 2 grandchildren.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the grandchildren. We didn't get to talk about your grandchildren. You and I got to hang out.
9, they're 9 and 6. Probably one of my favorite, most beautiful accomplishments, if you could call it that, or gifts is really what it is that my son and my daughter-in-law asked me to be the midwife for my grandchildren. So I actually midwifed my own 2 grandchildren at home, and talk about just like one of those things that how many people ever get to experience in life.
Wow.
I wouldn't trade that for going to the moon. And and I'm super close with the little ones.
Wow. What an amazing, journey you have had. And the world has thankfully caught up with,
it has.
Your passions and your theories and your practices.
It's really interesting that you say that because on one hand, it really is phenomenal. I mean, it's been an amazing thing to be able to reach so many people. And now with a voice of 37 years of experience doing this. On the other hand, there's so much noise out there. And sometimes, and especially, I would say, especially as a woman in menopause, I'm turning 55 this year, you can have an influencer, I'm doing air quotes here, influencer who's, 24 and writing about all the things that I'm writing about, but she knows how to do reels and she knows how to do TikTok and she's got 2 million followers. And it's all based on stuff that she's reading from other people. I'm not knocking any of those people. They can be doing phenomenal work. But I would say that, the space is very noisy. Finding ways to have an authentic and strong leadership voice in that has naturally happened for me. But as a woman internally, there's a lot of learning to not compare and despair or think, if I were younger now, I'd have this big, you know what I mean? It's like, you just can't compare.
No.
So it's an interesting shift in the space in that at one point I was one of the only people doing it. And now everyone's talking about adaptogens or probiotics or, your period or whatever it is. So it's interesting.
But, there's something about this wisdom intelligence that is built into the aging process that,
Totally.
yes, there are plenty of, people out there that can espouse the latest and greatest theories and have a gazillion followers and, are putting work out there that are relying upon sources of others. But at the end of the day, being that wise woman that has all the
Mm,
history, you can't
totally.
buy that. I don't think that is something that is a commodity that can be purchased.
Yeah. And also, the bottom line is to me, it's so wonderful that this new way of thinking and being, especially among young women, especially among influencers, is actually making changes, right? This generation who is super, super communications and internet savvy, not that we're not, obviously we are, we're here doing this too, but is really able to quickly leverage and shift thought. And I think the fact that women are now, especially young women, are really becoming more body literate, more sexually literate, more confident, and more empowered in their voices, it really is a huge moment of opportunity for women's empowerment, but also to change the way healthcare is practiced.
And it also is its own form of public health.
It is. I deeply believe that. I deeply believe in the importance of what I call, and I didn't make this term up, but the citizen scientist. The person who has period pain, has constipation, has pain with sex, goes to their doctor or goes to 5 doctors, as the case may be, maybe for several years, and keeps being told, oh, that's normal because you're a woman. That's normal because you're a woman. And then one day she goes on the internet and she finds a chat room or a website or an Instagram feed that starts talking about endometriosis. And she's like, oh, that's what I have. And she feels normal, even if now she knows she has a condition, but she can do something about it. And to me, it's a huge act of public health that we need. And it's, I hear a lot of criticism from, like the medical model, or you read in the New York Times, there's one particular doctor who loves to tear down Goop, for example. And I say, you know what? I mean, everything, nothing is perfect, but here's the reality is women are flocking to sites like Goop and others because there is a huge gap in what conventional medicine has to offer. And those sites actually provide sometimes that aha moment that allows a woman to figure out what's really going on that the medical model isn't talking about.
Well, let's chat about that for a second. In
Yeah,
terms of the current medical model, integrative medicine aside, if you don't fall in, right? If you can't fall into a category, then you don't necessarily get treated.
exactly. And some of the conditions that women experience, whether it is hypothyroidism, let's think about hypothyroidism. What are the symptoms? Some fatigue, a little bit of depression, maybe a little anxiety, some weight gain, your hair's a little dry, you're a little constipated. Anybody could have that at any time. And so what happens is a woman goes in with those symptoms and she's, if she even gets a word in edgewise, because most doctors interrupt after the first 90 seconds, and most doctors have 7 to 12 minutes for an appointment. So in that 7 to 12 minutes for being interrupted at 90 seconds, she's supposed to say, I've got this, and this going on. Then the doctor says, well, that's pretty normal. You're probably just stressed, or you've got young kids, or you're working. So la, 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 you're fine, you're stressed, do some meditation, get some more exercise, and you're sent on your way. That's not an answer. And this is happening to women with so many conditions, because a lot of these conditions, whether it's endometriosis or PCOS or Hashimoto's, if you're not taught to look for the subtle symptoms, there's a really good chance you'll miss them. And I can tell you in med school, we're not taught about women's health, which is on the lowest possible research agenda medically and public health wise also. So yeah, there's so much need for these conversations, but also for these individuals who have either overcome these conditions themselves and are now writing and sharing about it, or who are on the journey of learning about them, or the work you're doing, sharing out the work of people like me who are doing the work of trying to make a difference for women individually and change the system.
And when we talk about citizen science, I love that term, by the way. I have not heard that up until now, but I will be repeating it and giving credit to you. The citizen scientists out there, sometimes that's the only way we learn. I happen to have Graves' disease. I mean, I manage it completely nutritionally. I mean, I'm sharing it not because like don't necessarily want people knowing my business, but I have this, and I was given one set of criteria of how this is handled, and that was that. You remove the thyroid and replace it with synthetic thyroid hormone, and you go live your life. Well, I'm not giving up my body parts so quickly.
Yeah, and there's a time and place for it. I've had patients who I've sent in for ablation or surgical thyroid, thyroidectomy. But what happens with medicine is, one, that's all we learn, right? We jump from A to Z, like symptom is A, diagnosis is, so we jump from B to Z. A is the symptoms, B is the diagnosis, and then Z, you're in surgery or getting medication and again, those may be appropriate depending on sort of like how serious things are when you start or what you feel like you have the bandwidth to cope with or do. But where's the discussion about, maybe we can try diet, or maybe there's some
supplements,
yes. Or maybe this has to do with celiac disease or something else. And none of that is woo-woo. It's all, it's not fringe. There's good science. It's just unfortunately that it's not the science we're taught in medical school too often.
And also the psychosocial factors. What's going on in the person's life at the time that these conditions present themselves, including somebody who's going through a difficult perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah, which is a huge time for women to also have new onset of autoimmune conditions, because it's interesting, the kind of estrogen that we have for most of our life cycle of their childbearing years, if people want to have children, is lack of a better way to put those years, but our kind of mother years is estradiol, which is a really anti-inflammatory form of estrogen. But then when we get into perimenopause and menopause, that form goes down and we get more estriol, and it doesn't protect us from inflammation, and it doesn't support our immune system quite the same way. And so we have a little moment there where we're a little bit more at risk for autoimmune conditions.
And when we talk about inflammation as being the root of so many diseases, that, I think the empowering part of what you have done in Hormone Intelligence, the complete guide, I have to give the whole title, Hormone Intelligence, the complete guide to calming hormone chaos and restoring your body's natural blueprint for well-being. When we're able to really focus on that inflammation, whether it's through diet, lifestyle, supplementation, whatever it is, we take control of our lives and our health.
Yeah, I think a lot of times too, we forget that let's not just eat well because we have this symptom, but we know from studies that have been published in places like the New England Journal of Medicine, we're not talking about some fringe journal published in who knows where. Yeah. In some little tiny country in the middle of, in the middle of the ocean, although those might have good medical journals for all I know. But, we're talking about a substantial medical journal where the data is really clear that at least 90% of all chronic illness has nothing to do with genetics. It has to do with inflammation, diet, exercise, stress, and smoking. Those are the big 5, factors. So, we know that for women.
We are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to continue the conversation with Dr. Aviva Romm. We're talking about her newest book, Hormone Intelligence, the complete guide to calming hormone chaos and restoring your body's natural blueprint for well-being. To learn more, please visit avivaromm.com, on Twitter at Aviva Romm, on Facebook, Aviva Romm MD, and on Instagram, that handle is Dr.Aviva Romm. Here comes the pause. We'll be right back, and that is a guarantee. Hang on just a minute. Before we take that break, let's talk about happiness from the inside out, because great hair begins in much the same way, from the inside out. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement that's clinically shown to improve hair growth, thickness, and visible scalp coverage. Did you know that 30 million women in the U.S. are impacted by weakened or thinning hair? If you're among them like me, you're not alone, and there is a solution that you can trust to deliver great results. Nutrafol supports healthy hair growth from within by targeting the 5 root causes of hair thinning: stress, hormones, environment, nutrition, and metabolism through whole body health. I'm a huge fan because Nutrafol goes beyond genetics to target the factors that impact hair growth. In a clinical study, 86% of women saw improved growth after 6 months of use. Nutrafol has unique formulas that provide exactly what's needed based on biology, age, and stage of life. Each physician-formulated product uses natural, drug-free, medical-grade ingredients in consistent doses for reliable results that I have experienced firsthand. More than 3,000 top doctors and stylists recommend Nutrafol as an effective and high-quality solution for healthier hair. What I love most about Nutrafol is that in addition to beautiful hair, the ingredients have helped me improve my sleep, stress response, and those pesky menopause symptoms, including hot flashes. Who wouldn't want that? Visit Nutrafol.com and take their hair wellness quiz for personalized product recommendations that will be unique to your hair needs. Just 4 pills twice a day, and you'll experience thicker, stronger, faster growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. Join me and millions of others who are celebrating great hair days with Nutrafol. You can grow thicker, healthier hair and support our show by going to Nutrafol.com and entering the promo code HARVESTING to save $10 off your first month subscription. This offer is only available to U.S. customers for a limited time, plus free shipping on every order. Get $10 off at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code HARVESTING. Now let's take that pause. We'll be right back. Each day we have the intellectual freedom to be happy or the liberty to be miserable, regardless of external circumstance. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, urge them to seek professional support because good psychological health is vital in achieving a satisfying life. Visit harvestinghappiness.com for psychosocial educational resources to boost emotional and social intelligence. Like what you hear on Harvesting Happiness? Sharing is caring. Pay it forward by spreading the word to your tribe through social media. Find us at Harvesting Happiness on Facebook and me at Lisa Kamen on Twitter. And we're back. But before we return to the conversation, listeners know how I'm obsessed with Skims and their Fits Everybody underwear collection of the butteriest undies on the planet. I've been wearing Skims for months and I am a devoted convert. And the buzz is that their cotton loungewear is a game changer. I must say that all the hype is 500% true. These are the cutest and most flattering sets that are stretchy, soft, comfortable, and non-binding. It feels like it just melts on my body. In fact, I forget I'm even wearing them. Skims is creating the next generation of loungewear for everybody. Athleisure wear is my professional uniform, and that means I'm always on the hunt for fashionable and relaxed garments that make me feel stylish and put together. My most favorite t-shirt of all time is the cotton jersey t-shirt from Skims. It holds its shape, wash after wash, hugs my curves perfectly throughout the day without stretching out, and comes in a bunch of great colors. The Skims cotton jersey t-shirt is my go-to base layer under jackets and cardigans for a put-together, on-the-go, dressed up or dressed down look. This is Skims' most tagged collection. It's made with a classic cotton fabric for comfortable everyday wear, made from ultra soft and natural fibers. The cotton collection features elevated lounge pieces designed for comfort indoors and outside. Whoever said loungewear was only for the house hasn't tried Skims. Available in sizes extra, extra small to 4X. Believe the hype. Skims has over 100,000 five-star reviews for a reason. The cotton collection and more are available now at skims.com. Plus, get free shipping on orders over $75. After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Now let's get back to it. And we're back, continuing the conversation with my guest today, Dr. Aviva Romm, MD. We're talking about body wisdom, functional and integrative medicine for women's wellness. Let's get back to it. So, Aviva, prior to the break, you had began to talk about a study, and I'd love for you to pick up where we left off.
So there was a study done, just talking about this idea that it's not just about drugs and surgery, but that there are other factors that contribute. And you mentioned the psychosocial factors. There was this study called the InterHeart study, and it's what's called a multi-center study. So data was gathered from many, many different health clinics, and it looked at the impact of loneliness on women's health. And the researchers, and there were something like 17,000 people in the study, and the researchers found that for women, and it's probably true for men too, but the study was on women, that loneliness increased a risk of heart attack or stroke more than diabetes, cigarette smoking, and obesity combined together.
Wow.
And, what's powerful is the antidote is something that women have always known and done. It's what we're doing right here is gathering and connecting with each other and supporting each other and lifting each other up. And in that connection, we're actually creating hormones and chemicals that counteract the impact of stress and loneliness on our heart and our mind. And I think that's so beautiful and powerful.
I think so too. And you mentioned something in our chat before we got going today. You talked about spiritual medicine, and I don't think you meant it in the liturgical sense. I think you meant it in the soulful sense.
I did. I think that one thing is that our hormones are chemical messengers, but we also know, or not but, and we also know that they do some really powerful things. For example, estrogen in the middle of our menstrual cycles, so, around ovulation, actually makes us more visually aware of the facial, more visually and emotionally aware of the facial and emotional gestures of other people. We know that oxytocin is a hormone that allows us to connect and have more empathy, but also more courage. There's some really deep and powerful inner knowing that I truly believe is part of hormone intelligence. I call her my inner wise woman because I like to anthropomorphize and then I can talk to her and listen to her. We can call her whatever we want, or maybe it's not a her for you, but tapping into the deeper wisdom of our hormones, our biology, our connection to the planet and life cycles is a part of healing that is, certainly if you have cancer, you may need chemotherapy or surgery. I'm not saying that it's instead of, but it's the part of medicine that conventional medicine has so sorely neglected. And, hearkening back to loneliness, how many doctors ask their patients, are you lonely? Do you have family? Do you have friends? Are you connecting with other people? Especially right now with the pandemic. How many people ask a person who's struggling with a post-heart attack? Because we know that people after a heart attack who have someone to care for them and love them and support them in the first year are far less likely to die in that first year and far less likely to ever have another heart attack. So where are we looking at the importance of these deep spiritual values and our connection to our planet that influences our health, our hormone health, and our kind of deeper core needs as women, which we're often so taught to neglect too.
What I'm hearing you say, in my view, is about the art in medical arts. You're putting back that sort of artful, creative, intuitive side in service to the healing. So it's treating the whole person, not just the condition and the symptoms. Yes,
I say the art of well-being and the science of being well. That's how I think of it.
Perfectly said. Good doctor. Perfectly said.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about herbs and supplements and hormone replacement therapy, because all of them have pros and cons, particularly if you don't know how to use any of them.
Yes. So herbs and supplements, the biggest risks with those are either taking too much of something, because most of the herbs and supplements on the market, like the common ones out there, aren't going to kill you if you take a normal dose of them. But if you're taking, obviously too much of something, even too much vitamin B6 can cause nerve problems, for example. I would say the even bigger risk, though, with herbs and supplements is just that if you use them instead of getting the medical treatment that you might actually need. But otherwise, I think herbs and supplements are just kind of an extension of food. They're a little bit like food 2.0 in that, we eat our kale. We don't think of kale as an herb, but it is an herb. But if you were to take stinging nettles as a tea, it's got basically everything in it that kale has. And you can use nettles as a cooked vegetable. But when we start to concentrate it and then take it more medicinally, then it's a medicine. similarly, I mean, our food has nutrients in it, and I'm such a huge proponent of getting everything we need from our food first and not having to supplement, and certainly not having to take a lot of supplements. But we know that our modern diets are often a lot, quite depleted in the nutrients we need. Even the foods themselves don't have the same nutrient quantities as our grandmothers. An orange today doesn't have the same amount of vitamin C, for example, as an orange in 1950. It just doesn't. And good studies have been done.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And also, we just get really busy. So how many women, I mean, I can't tell you how many women I see that skip meals on the regular, or, have the coffee in the morning, and then by mid-morning they're having the sugar crash. So they're having the Danish and don't get the quality protein or fat or micronutrients that they need. So there's a time and place for, it's kind of like a daily multivitamin. A lot of women aren't getting enough vitamin D, enough magnesium. And then there are some really phenomenal studies showing that things like, let's say, magnesium can help with sleep, or calcium can help with even significant period pain, or St. John's wort can help with depression, or vitamin B6 can help with severe PMS symptoms. So there's good data out there. When it comes to hormone replacement therapy, I think that basically the most important thing is that a woman, one, understand the general risks and benefits, understand what are not benefits, because there's a lot of misinformation about what hormone replacement therapy can do, and a lot of that's been overblown.
It's not going to make us 30, girls. It's not going to make us 30 again.
Definitely not. It's not, but it can make women feel better. But then you also have to know your individual risks. So, for example, I've seen women who have come to me from another functional or integrative doctor who put them on bioidentical hormones. And now the woman's coming to me because she's having horrible uterine bleeding and her doctor's telling her she might need a hysterectomy. And I'm like, have you tried coming off the estrogen? And
Wow.
Of course, I say it in the kindest way. And I've had several women who have had, just in the past few years, hysterectomies they didn't end up needing, that they didn't have the hysterectomy that was being recommended because they just came off of too much estrogen. And that was what was causing the bleeding. So I'm a fan of using what is best for you. If you can't sleep and you're miserable, progesterone orally can be a lifesaver. If you are having vaginal dryness and you're having to pee every 2 minutes because you have something called genitourinary syndrome of menopause, or you just can't have sex because it hurts too much because your vag is dry, then some topical estrogen can be like, it can feel like the fountain of youth, or at least like, yeah. So, I have no problem with women using those as long as their physician or they're doing the research themselves to know what the pros and cons are, and also not staying on it forever, because that's really where the bigger risk comes to, is even for women who are otherwise healthy and don't have risks, but you're just like, you got put on it when you were 48 and you're still on it when you're 72. Come on.
There's no need. And that doesn't mean you're not having sex at that age.
No, it doesn't. In fact, you know what? It's really amazing. 20-year-olds are having less sex than they have historically in generations, because they're on their devices so much at night instead of on each other. And then the women over 50 are having the best sex of their lives, because we know what we like, we know what we want, we know how to express it and ask for it, we know how to satisfy ourselves if we don't have someone to do it with. And when you're in a long-term relationship too, all the research that's been pouring out over the past maybe decade has shown 50s, 60s, 70s, great sex. So something to look forward to, and something that younger women can learn from us menopausal hotties.
Yeah.
Literally hotties, right?
Like, yeah, I think so. Literal hotties.
Is something.
Literal and figurative hotties.
Yes,
that,
yes.
There is something to be said when you don't have to worry about unwanted pregnancy. The kids have flown the coop, although they do boomerang back now and again, at least on my side and yours.
Totally.
But, it's on, I think, for this phase of life. Yay.
Yeah, totally.
We are out of time. You, my dear, I hope you'll come back and hang out with me. We got more conversations to have.
I would love that. That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me talk about this book, because I'm very, very excited about it. But just even if nobody ever buys the book, just hearing the conversation and just being able to hear words like period and menopause and sex and just, vagina, and being able to just talk about it is so important.
To speak our truths.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. The book we've been speaking about is Hormone Intelligence, the complete guide to calming hormone chaos and restoring your body's natural blueprint for well-being. To learn more about Dr. Aviva Romm, please visit avivaromm.com, on Twitter at Aviva Romm, on Facebook, Aviva Romm MD, and Instagram is Dr. Aviva Romm. Before we close out today's episode, let's talk about the importance of small self-care rituals and our happiness. Research has proven that small, consistent, positive actions will generate a lasting impact in our lives, like taking a few minutes to hit the pause button and breathe, or going for a walk. And sometimes those small actions pay off in a big way. Way offers a complete hair care solution that promotes fuller looking, healthier feeling, and happier hair for everyone. Fine, medium, or thick hair, Way has got you covered. For the past several months, I've made Way an integral part of my self-care routine, and I'm seeing and feeling a noticeable difference in the quality of my once flat, limp, and dull fine hair. I'm a big fan of Way's hair, body, and fragrance products. My go-tos are the hair shampoo and conditioner for fine hair, plus the volume spray. They make my hair full and bouncy. Not to mention, all Way products smell sensually delicious. Another thing I appreciate about Way is their eco-friendly 32-ounce refill pouches of their most popular shampoos and conditioners. Way helps to improve overall hair health with beauty-boosting ingredients that support thicker, shinier, beautiful-looking tresses. Way is an easy and effective go-to hair and scalp health regime because good hair care demands more than just styling. Get on your way to healthier hair one day at a time with shampoos and conditioners that are just your type. Go to theouai.com and use code HH for 15% off your entire purchase. That's theouai.com, code HH. Thanks for joining us on Harvesting Happiness today. This is Lisa Cypers Kamen on behalf of my guest, Dr. Aviva Romm, MD, wishing you kind thoughts, kinder words, and the kindest of actions. Until next time, remember, happiness is an inside job. Happiness is your inside job. Please go out and rock your day, and remember to be kind to one another. Keep harvesting your own happiness anytime and anywhere from the comfort of wherever you are. Subscribe, listen, and share hundreds of downloadable episodes from our mental muscle toning libraries at harvestinghappinesstalkradio.com, toginet.com, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about my global consulting services, please visit harvestinghappiness.com. Spread more joy by liking us on Facebook at Harvesting Happiness and following me on Twitter at Lisa Kamen. Harvesting Happiness is produced by me, Lisa Cypers Kamen, Andrea Mungeli, Robin Boyd, Andrea Daly, and the awesome team at Podfly Productions, including Eric Begay, Kimberly Beck, and Alec Gus, in collaboration with TogiNet Radio, KBUU, RadioMalibu.net, and is available on PRX, the Public Radio Exchange.